I knew a change was getting ready to happen. I was living in Austin last year for about 7 years, and I felt within that it was time to move on to another place. So I wasn't sure where. So first thing that came to me was Atlanta, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm moving to Atlanta. So I fortunately I have some family here, but I've never really been in Georgia for a long period of time. So it really was has been quite the adventure. I was going through a difficult time. There was a relationship that really a friendship that fell apart, and I had a hard time with life and really adjusting to not having this person in my life I deeply loved. And the first thing that came to me really was I needed to get out my aggression. I felt very angry. I felt very disappointed in just how things went and how things were. And the first thing I thought about was, let me go ahead and punch some bags. I just really need to strike some things. So allowed me to go and put out all of my aggression, striking and kicking and punching. I did that actually for a number of years. I loved it so much that I actually taught Krav Maga for about a year. I had a really bad injury where I could not walk for several months. And it was such a difficult time for me. I was walking with a cane. Mentally, I felt very, very defeated. And I wasn't sure how long I was going to be with that cane, but to be so young and struggling with that type of injury, I needed something to move the body. So I decided to get into the yoga class and start practicing because I was so hurt I couldn't do any martial arts. So I loved it. What I loved about it was just the slow movement of yoga, the ability to really take care of myself and not feel rushed to go into any other poses, but to be with my pose, to be with the shape of that pose. And it really, what resonated with me was the pose and the breath. And for the first time in my life, I was really aware of my breathing and really aware of how depending on the pose, if it kind of irritated the injury or something, or if I felt uncomfortable in my shoulders or my wrists, which I was having challenges with, how my breath would change, how it would shorten, or even how my mind would get busy and it would be like, when is this pose going to be over? Why am I hurting so much? So it was one of those things that made me realize how much the mind and how much the body affected my experience of life. Meditation, where I would do yoga and I would just sit. And one thing I realized after sitting, how busy the mind is. It's almost like airplanes and trains flying into the earth and all this chaos. And I was like, oh my gosh, why is my mind so busy? Initially, I did not like how busy, how chaotic my mind felt. And the first one thing that really came to me is like, oh my gosh, so there's the body, there's these emotions, and there's all these thoughts that are constantly going. How clearly am I really seeing the world? And from there, I really started to I learned some great techniques. I really started to use these techniques to see if I can really have the mind have an anchor to really start to move through these emotions, move through the body, and move through these thoughts where I can get to a level of stillness. And the cool thing is, there's mostly chaos of the mind that was happening, but there'd be maybe 3 seconds of stillness, 3 seconds of peace. And I found that to be wonderful. And I was like, let me see if I can continue to deepen my practice by spending more time in meditation. Once I start engaging in the world in a very different way, where I was very specific on what I'm willing to experience, it really started to help my mind feel stronger, more focused than ever before. So I've really enjoyed meditation since then.